Deep in the wood sat a cabin, glowing like a candle in the darkness. The wind clutched at it, rattled the windows as if begging to come inside. But the windows stayed shut, and the house did not fall. Inside, the girl and her father sat up late, reading books. Every longing sigh of the wind drew the girl's eyes once more to the windows, to the shapes she imagined pacing out there beyond the safe halo of light. But she could only see the drawn curtain. If she moved it, there would be only her own reflection pooling back at her, unless she was brave enough to put her nose right to the glass and squint out. Her father told stories about the things out there. She did not need to see them to believe him. She knew them by their three-clawed prints that circled their home like a moat every morning, by the gouges bored into the hide of her father's woodshed, deeper than any bear's mark. He caught her staring. "What have I always told you, darling?" She stared mutely at the book until he answered for her. "When the lights are on, we're safe." Her father gestured to the unflinching pupil of the light above, his smile easy and light. "As you can see," he said, "we're safe." She hid her face in his arm. She had lived 8 years under the watchful guard of sunlight and filament. Darkness was nothingness. Darkness was death. So when she woke that night to a pitch-black room, the girl began to shriek. A hand stifled her, her father's hand. His other gripped her wrist tightly, as if he was trying to tell her something through his very bones. "I'm going to go try the generator." "But," she said into his fingertips. He shook his head. "It should have turned on, and it didn't." The wind rattled at the roof like an angry god. "Someone has to go check it," he whispered gently. Then he moved away, taking all the warmth and the girl's fleeting calm with him. She bolted upright in bed, unsure if she should flee or hide. Surely they know we're in here, she wanted to ask, but she could not give life to the possibility by saying it out loud. Her father tossed a bundle at her. "Get dressed. Be silent. I love you." He looked over his shoulder at the flashlight beside the door. He handed it to her. "If they come inside, use this." And then he opened the door. Blackness opening into blackness, broken only by a scattering of stars. Night quiet as perfect and unbroken as new snow. Her father looked back at her as he let the door shut behind him. The girl shoved her fist into her mouth to keep from sobbing. She had never seen a night so complete. Without the light, there was nothing to keep the monsters away. She scrambled to her feet. As soundlessly as she could, she wriggled into her 2 warmest leggings and threw on her largest pair of jeans over it. Sweaters, snow pants, socks as thick as her pinky. The mittens her father knitted for her that summer while she watched his needles click and the butterflies flitter and a crunching out there beyond the door, a scuffle in the snow. The girl jammed her feet into her boots. She told herself it was her father. Had to be only her father, panicked in the dark. A howl shattered the night like a dropped glass. A great bellow from beyond the pines, deep as the earth and older still. Another joined it, and another. Their calls were urgent and coming closer. The girl threw herself down instantly, unthinkingly, as if trying to make herself invisible. And she froze there, rabbit in a burrow, listening, stilling her very heart. And then, the creatures in the darkness went silent. There was only the cry of the wind, and faintly beneath it, the whine of the generator as her father struggled to make it go. The girl crawled on elbows and knees to the windows. The heavy plaid curtains were lashed together. She raised a shuddering hand to untie them, scooted the corner back just far enough to peer around the corner. A pair of yellow eyes in a sea of matted black fur stared back at her, widened in delight when they met hers. Its head was something between a wolf and a bear, but its eyes watched her knowingly, cleverly, as if it were waiting for her to look out and notice. She tumbled back, shrieking. The lights flared back to life overhead, and outside, her father started screaming. The girl did not think. She ran to the bed and seized her father's huge emergency flashlight, stumbled into the night for the first time in her life. A horde of black-coated creatures swarmed her father's shed. Their teeth caught and gleamed in the light of the moon. One had her father by the leg. The outside lights were still dead. She fumbled with the flashlight, wrenched off a mitten, and flicked it on. She swung the beam towards the writhing mass of shapes. Smoke rose off their skin. They scattered off her father, screaming and hissing like a water droplet dropped in hot oil. He lay limp in the light, the snow around him a damp churned scarlet. The night creatures circled him like lions. One nipped at the toe of his boot. The girl flicked the light toward it, and the creature scrambled backwards. Panning the light in front of her, the girl stepped into her father's footsteps, towards the pack of nightmares that watched snarling and spitting from the shadows. As she grew closer, she could smell only rot and clay and fur. They growled and bared their teeth, but the creatures did not dare venture into the light. They did not stop her from touching her father's hand. It was wet and cold. She could not look at him. She had to keep turning the light. She had to watch the monsters that tried to pad noiselessly behind her. "Dad," she whispered, "you have to get up." For a long, terrible moment, her father did not move. One of the creatures near her let out a strange low rumble, as if laughing at her for trying to drag her father's corpse up out of the snow. But then, he drew himself up on his elbows, his breath a ragged, wet, tearing sound. One of the beasts lunged for his throat. The girl chased it away with the light and screamed at it with everything she had. Her father rose. The night creatures drooled and snapped at his heels, but they did not touch him. Together, father and daughter limped back into the house, and all the while, the girl never let her light waver.